press the button. So there you go. You should see now we are live, Sarah.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I'm just tidying up my space to be a little bit more focused. I hope you are having a great week and a great summer, although it doesn't really feel like summer when you look out the window, when you see grey clouds, a little bit of rain.
At least you have a window, Rich. That's all I'm saying.
True. Yeah, okay, I won't. I'll stop complaining. But at least you can imagine it's nice and sunny.
Yeah.
And then you get the realistic when you go outside and you have to put a jumper on. And
yeah.
But yeah, I hope everybody's well and enjoying the summer and making the most of it. Week left before it's results day today as well, actually, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Our first year scholars have got theirs today.
Nice. I can imagine that's, we didn't even think about that today, did we, in regards to setting this up? I can imagine that's probably bringing a whole load of new challenges.
Yeah.
And emotions.
Yeah.
I remember my results day at my GCSEs I was a wreck of emotions.
Yeah. I've got a feeling I was away at a Pony Club Championships at the time for mine. So I didn't actually pick I think we'd sent Dad in to collect them, and it was like ages till we actually got them.
Yeah, fair. I think I wasn't at a Pony Club thing. I was definitely there and definitely upset. And I had a conversation actually the other day that you can't expect to have great results when you didn't put the effort in. And then my results were actually probably better than the effort I put in, but still I was expecting a score that I wasn't expecting like these A-star students. I just definitely wasn't an A-star student.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, everybody should be here. If you are here already, sorry for you to hear and listen to me waffle on, but please say hello. Tell us where you're listening in from. If you have any questions for Sarah or myself as we go through this, please add those to the chat. The more questions and insights and bits you put into this session, episode, whatever you want to call it, the better, because then you'll get the answers and the questions answered that you want to ask. Sarah, on the side, you should see comments on the right hand side. If you make sure your thing's on that, and that's where you'll see the questions come up.
Fabulous.
Let's get going. Welcome, Sarah. Thank you for joining me. I'm really excited to have this conversation. You're the second player care manager I've had on, and I find this role a really interesting role because you get to see elite performance as well as how you support those elite performers from a mindset, well-being, care standpoint. I think it's really interesting. On top of very similar backgrounds to myself, or especially within the sporting space. Hi, Laura. I'm from Wrexham. Look, not far from you, Sarah.
Yeah.
From the very similar sporting background with hockey, right? And so there's obviously connections and relationships there. So I'm really excited to have this conversation.
Yeah. The best sport, Rich, the best sport, even though I work in football and, your footballers have to forgive me.
No biases, right? We'll try and keep the bias there. But I'm excited to have this, and the approach that you have in regards to player first, human first, is probably a better person. People first approach to performance, understanding that, I think it's going to be really valuable for people just to hear and how that can really impact our performance, people at work, but also just our elite professionals and people. So I'm going to stop rambling. What I'm going to do is get us into introductions. I'll get myself out of the way and then over to you, really. So if you don't know who I am, my name's Rich. I am a high-performance exec coach, helping people, teams and leaders create high performance and improve, helping them develop in areas that they're looking to develop, whether that is an individual, whether that is creating high-performance teams, or whether that's becoming a great coach leader. I'm there to help them do that through one-to-one group and training. If you want to know more about that, please let me know. I also run a Wellbeing company, which is attached to the Wellbeing chat. The reason why I'm here today talking to Sarah, which helps organisations put wellbeing initiatives in place to support what they're trying to do. And if you want to know more about that, also give me a call or a message. Anyway, that's me out of the way. Sarah, rather than me butchering it, because I know you've got a long list that you've done for your introduction, but yeah, I'm going to throw it over to you. So yeah, could you introduce yourself, Sarah?
Oh, blimey. So Rich, you're quite right. Currently, I work in the player care space in football, but my background's been a bit of a meander, shall we say, through things. Started life as a PE teacher, been head of year, head of house, and all of those kind of juicy stuff that kind of dealt with not just the subject but the person as well. And for me, I very much see, even the young people as people. Sometimes I think it's very easy to just go, oh, they're just children, but they're people in their own right. So started teaching. Always had an interest in sport. I played sport at a high level as a kid, in hockey and in riding as well, specifically dressage. Discovered cricket at university, kind of fell into that, and then kind of ended up, as I say, at an elite level in all of those three. But for me, sport has always been my safe space, as it were. Being dyslexic, and then realizing kind of later on that there were kind of more neurodiversities in there as well. I think sport gave me that saving grace of something that I was good at when I went to school. Went to a fantastic school, but it was quite an academic school. But they really saw the person as a whole person as well, which I think has kind of made me who I am in terms of that person-centered approach. As I say, went into teaching, bumped into Jean Watson from the EIS at a conference, and she told me about this thing that was called performance lifestyle that I'd never come across, and realised that through my coaching with some of the England hockey stuff, that was kind of what I was doing without realising it was a thing. And then ended up working with the EIS, looking after a mixture of sports at the time, helping to set up the adaptive rowing performance lifestyle, because they'd just come on board. So I did a bit of hockey, diving. I think there was shooting, there was equestrian athletes, there was a lot of rowers because I was based at Bisham. And then went back into teaching due to kind of funding and contracts and things like that. And then ended up working, took a bit of a break from teaching, and thought I kind of wanted to see a bit more of the corporate world. So ended up working for Samsung Mobile, doing a lot of training, but also working with a lot of the senior managers there, because I was the closest one. Then into TAS down in Southampton University, looking after the elite athletes down there, and helping to support other TAS practitioners around the southeast. And moved to Wales about 11 years ago to work with Welsh Rugby, with the Welsh Rugby Players Association as a player development manager. So there's so many different names for what the likes of us do. Took a bit of a break because it's quite a hardcore type of thing, and ended up going into adult education for a while, just supporting learners doing their Institute Leadership Management Level 4 and Level 5 qualifications. Working with the health board during the start of COVID was humbling, I would say. And then back into the world of elite sport with academy football.
Cardiff City.
Yeah. Yeah.
As you said, quite a squiggly career.
Yeah.
But always, you can see always with this probably linked to sports. I can imagine, and I can also imagine your time in corporate through training with senior leaders. And this is an assumption, but you probably used a lot of language that you would have as a coach.
Absolutely, and I think doing that, you really discover that people are. I'll keep coming back to this. I will, but people are people, and it just happens to be that in this building, the people here are very good at football. I'm very good at creating Canva and other useless things like that, building Lego with the boys, that kind of thing. And, the senior managers in the health board are very good at what they do. So it's that's where I have that interest of, just happens to be that some of these lads will end up earning a lot of money and some will end up not, because they won't make it. And I think that's the interesting thing of why we need to look at people as people and what they're good at. Yes, is their superpower in a way, but there'll be so much more to them.
Yeah, I really want to start at that point and putting the human first in performance or in success. I don't know what that correct terminology is, because that's the thing I think we all strive for. Whether that success is, wherever you class as success, right? It's a weird thing to measure, but actually understanding human first. So I'm going to throw that over to you and go, okay, what is that for you? What does putting the human first mean to elite performance?
I think it's understanding the narrative of people, and what I mean with that is that we can assume a lot about people. So I went to university and they assumed that because I was interested in playing hockey and then cricket, I wouldn't be interested in playing in the orchestra. So they put the orchestra at the same time as they did the sport, whereas actually my A-level subjects were music, theatre studies and English, nothing to do with sport at all. So I think it's having that understanding, and then understanding what their version of success is. For some of them it will definitely be, I want to play for my country, I want to be a Premiership footballer with these young lads that we've got. For others it might just be, I want to be the best I can be, or I want to get the best and the most out of the experience of my time here. And I think part of it is about understanding what makes that person tick to be successful. It might just be throwing everything at it and the kitchen sink at what they're doing at, for example, football, but it could be for them the balance is a more important thing. I remember working with a Paralympic sport, and it was quite a tough time. They were trying to qualify for London 2012, and although as a home nation this sport would have had a spot, the way Paralympics GB work, you had to go with they were only going to put money behind you going if you had a chance, kind of thing. So we were sat at a qualifying tournament. It was a key qualifying tournament, and one of the lads, his way of unwinding was to do his advanced maths homework. Now, for me, that would be the last thing in the world that I would understand or want to do. And the performance director came to me and said, "Oh, Sarah, you've got to have a word with him." I said, "Oh, well, what about?" "Well, he's sat there now doing his maths homework. He should be relaxing." And I had to kind of try and get the point across that actually his way of switching off from this high pressure place was to do maths. Just because the performance director and myself, it's not in our lens to go, "Oh yeah, maths is a really good thing." That was what he wanted to do, and that's how he switched off. And I think that's part of what we need to understand as in the performance sport narrative, that people have different reasons for doing it and different ways of looking at it.
Yeah, there's a few things that come to mind. There is understanding the person's why, understanding the person's strengths, and understanding how people manage with stress or the pressure. Maybe pressure is maybe a better term. Where do you start?
If you look at a lot of for example, our scholars here, they'll go off and play golf on their time off. And that's their way of de-stressing. Or, on the PlayStation is nowadays our generations are tending to do that more. And it's understanding what they do to switch off. Is that healthy? Is that not healthy? And why they're doing what they're doing. And I think if you can start to understand what makes them tick in that way, you can help support the performance even better.
Where do you start with this? What's the key starting point?
I think for me, something that we're trying to do here is create almost like a player bio for every player here. And part of that is, yes, to understand their family makeup and background, what school they go to, all the things like that we need to know, like how far they travel and stuff like that. But actually, some of the questions I'm asking are to get at that other narrative is, what do you do when you're not doing football? If you aren't, if you can't be a footballer, what other things would you like to do? And yes, some people will still come back as well, football coach or this and that, but others are putting, scientist down and lawyer and things, so you can start to see that kind of what else is going on. But little things like, what causes you the biggest stress? Now, a lot of it is related to when other people don't try hard enough or things like that. Or my little brother has been a few of them, which, you can understand that way. But again, it's part of understanding what makes them think a little bit more. Questions like, if you get frustrated, what can we do to help ease that frustration? And that's been quite an interesting response kind of question to that. So it helps to see that person as a whole person, not just, we ask football questions. Who's your favourite footballer? What club do you support? Because they all help with conversations. But there are questions that are well away from football.
I think it also helps with the coaching. Like, I think if I hear somebody saying, and I do this within my coaching, if they say they're into sport and they tell me they're a Cardiff City fan, then for me, I need to find out who their role models could be as a Cardiff City player. And then go, okay, so do you think this person, especially for the young lads, because they use role models so much.
Yeah.
I know do you think that person was doing this? What do you think the behaviour that this person was taking? How did that person reach that success? And why was he that person? And why was he a role model for you? I think they're really useful tools. Thank you. I got a comment here. I don't know if you see that. Snooker and chess was the way of switching off, just kind of linking into what you were saying about maths. Great topic of discussion. Each person is unique and have to know the person to affect the player. Thank you. We can't see the name of whoever's put that comment in. So if you could just add your name there, I'd be really appreciative so we know whose I did. Thank you. How do you see that playing out in the professional space? Because I can see that working in the organization, in your role as player care. How do you do that in the professional space?
I think it is about, ultimately, at the heart, people just want to be heard and understood. And I think sometimes it's about understanding a person, just spending time finding out what makes them tick. We all have, conversations over, I remember when I worked for in the training, the number of conversations you'd have as you're making a cup of tea for people. You start to get to know people, start to listen, start to remember. If somebody says, they could do a throwaway comment and you just think, oh, well, they're telling me about something they're doing next week. So when they come back, let me ask them how it's gone on. Even if, like me, I'd have to write it down because my dyslexic short-term memory is such that I'll always forget. But it's things like that, I think, is good at kind of understanding people. And we all do it and we all assume. I remember I talked to a boss and said, I've got dyslexia and I think I've probably got ADHD as well. Oh, no, you haven't. Really? I think I probably have, because I think I probably know myself. And it's having that awareness sometimes that your lens isn't their lens. And I think just ask questions, just be cute. I'm a Ted Lasso fan. I put my hands up, love it. And it is that be curious, not judgmental. I think is the key thing doesn't matter whether you're in sport or in business, get to know people. We all like to be known.
I think what you just said there about understanding how you think you work best, because I'm the same, right? And like I'm without organization, and this comes like processes, and actually really listening to you is like really, and we know we're speaking about this, my performance framework. So many things are going, the processes that people need to have and have to understand are so important. And so, but they need to know, they need to understand it. But for most people, they do know what they need to have in place for them to really excel, especially in the workplace. And so actually, listening to them, making sure they've got those things in place can be really useful.
And I think I know from personal experience, I'm not very good at actually what I need is, or I'm finding this difficult because it doesn't matter whether you're working in performance sport or, or in the corporate world, nobody likes to, for want of a better word, admit defeat and admit that they're struggling with something because of how something's set up. And I think, some of it comes down to the person being, you as a person being responsible. But then that means that you've got to have that relationship with a boss, with a coach that enables you to feel that you can go and have that conversation and be heard with it.
Yeah, psychological safety.
Yeah.
Which is really important, especially within organisations. I can imagine probably also really important thing you have to build as player care.
Yeah.
A trust from the players. If I speak to Sarah, that I'm going to be heard, going to be listened to non-judgmentally. All those two things, right?
I make quite a big thing here of I'm probably the one person in the building that doesn't care about football. I have to admit, I'm not saying anything that anybody listening from Cardiff City would go, oh, I don't particularly like football. I'm getting to like it. I'm getting to understand it more. But I'm here for the person and the kids. And yes, if they're succeeding at football, they're probably going to be thriving more as an individual because of how performance sport is set up. But ultimately, it is that, just come and chat to me. I'm not going to have the same input.
No. Yeah.
But I might be able to stand on your side for something.
My brain automatically goes to, so how do we get a player care manager who is the people focused or people person in organizations?
I think that's the interesting one. I would say you've got them. I would say every organization will have people. It's finding that person. We get very blinkered by they've come in to do this role and they have these skills. So in order to do that role, they must have that skill set, without going, well, what else are they interested in? What else can they do? So, the last adult education I worked for was more accountancy based. And it took a while for them to click that actually I had all this skills and experience in training, all these skills and experience in understanding different ways of learning. So they then utilize that. But it took somebody to be open enough to go, oh, I just had that conversation with Sarah and I remember her saying that. And then I've had that conversation. Oh, let's put 2 and 2 together. So I would say you'll have them in your organizations. Just go out and listen and find people, because you'll have people like me that are passionate about people, that have a skill set for it. They might not have the formal qualifications. I'm going to be a bit off-piste here, Rich, but I don't necessarily think that formal qualifications are the be-all and end-all. I think in performance lifestyle, player development, we're quite het up on what qualifications have you got. I'm more interested in who are you as a person? What life experience have you got? Life skills have you got? What people skills have you got?
Why?
Pardon?
Why?
Because I think, I have met some amazing students who have got so much book knowledge that I could sit and be fascinated by them, talk to them all day because they've done all the research. But when it comes to dealing with an actual person, they can't talk to them, or they can't relate to them because all they've done is university. And so some of it is about saying, well, you've got this amazing knowledge. I'm going to take a punt on you, but we're going to help you with those softer skills, with those people skills. And I think, we're in need of the academics and the real focus research, but we're also in need of people-centered life experience type of people as well. And I think the perfect blend in an organization is when you have the two sat next to each other working together, but then both have to be open to understanding that, you know, what you say might not be, you know, how I get it.
Yeah.
This is the challenge. Go on. I just then came to my head. I was doing some work with insight profiling. Mm-hmm. We did it with some of the students at Southampton, mm-hmm. and some of them played hockey for a very good hockey club that had most of the GB team that mm-hmm. then went on to play in London. Mm-hmm. And we were doing this, and the captain suddenly went, "Oh," said that. Well, they weren't being rude. She was very like to the point orientated. So she almost had a list of, you know, 9, 10, put your right sock on, 9, 11, put your left sock on. Mm-hmm. One of them wanted to come in and just chat to everybody. Another one was just like, just get out on the pitch and do it. And mm-hmm. she couldn't understand why nobody was following her list. Mm-hmm. And I think it's then having that understanding of, oh, right, you work in that way. I don't get it, but I've got to accommodate that. Mm-hmm. Is always the fun side of things, I think, of starting to learn about people.
Yeah. It goes back to always being curious. I also want to jump back quickly a second and go talking about your technical over soft skills people. You're seeing this play out a little bit with these accidental managers, because a lot of people are getting hired now on the ability to do the job, but not the ability to manage people and understand those important areas of leadership, coaching, management. And so you're seeing those play out.
Yeah. And it's hard. And part of, I think it's interesting. And I learned a lot doing the leadership management training, because actually sometimes what they're doing is you just want to go, really, what are you doing? And you kind of sit them down over a cup of tea and you talk to them and they go, oh. But then a lot of the time it was, you don't realize how what you're doing is exceptional. Mm-hmm. Do more of it, because, you know, how you are with your team mm-hmm. and your empathy towards your team mm-hmm. is amazing. But we don't tell people that. Mm-hmm. And I think in appraisals as well, we're still very much, aren't we, focused on, right, these are your goals. These are the things you don't do well. Mm-hmm. You know, we all hate it, don't we? Appraisal time.
Yeah.
You never see it as a celebration.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't see it as a reflection on the positives. That's what we're working towards next.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the feedback we need to do to keep you back online to where you need to be going. It's very what am I going to be told off for? What am I going to be told I'm not doing very well?
Yeah. And has the manager really thought about what's been going on?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't mind sharing, but you and I both know I've had a bit of a torrid couple of years, and especially the last few months again. And just being able to have somebody who went, you go and be with your family, mm-hmm. we'll work it out. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, if you need anything, just come and ask. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that's all you need. Mm-hmm. But sometimes then later on, you need somebody to remember that and then come around and go, actually, how are you doing? Because mm-hmm. it's easy to forget.
How do you think that impacts your performance?
I think you're then more motivated when you come back to try and carry on doing things. Because you know somebody's got your back with things. And it's those little conversations, I think, that I think as managers, we forget the power that they can have. Mm-hmm. Again, that remembering, mm-hmm. you know, remember a date.
Mm-hmm. Important bits.
Yeah.
I just want to jump over to the comments. There's been so many useful ones. Paddy, thank you for jumping in and sharing your insights. Unlocking people's potential to maximise their performance, creating self-awareness is key. Being external from the club, you're giving them stability throughout the career. 100% needs to be, this is Jodie, 100% needs to be a bridge between research and practice. And different perspectives on it are important, yeah. Look, the next question I have for you, and I want to get your insights on this, because I think we're touching on, and I think this will come through in this next question is around this kind of human-first approach, is you have been in a lot of different high-performing situations, whether that's you as an athlete, whether that's you in these sports teams, whether that's you in the corporate space. What's been the, let's say, top 3 lessons or things that you could share in regards to like that success, that high performance?
I think the challenge, it's more of a challenge, but I think it then links to when you get the success, is that link between when is it a challenge that you're facing, and when does it become at detriment to your mental health and well-being. And I think, sometimes in sport we get it very right, and a lot of the times we get it very wrong. And I think it's now starting to shift as we understand it better. But I think there is still not a clear delineation of when challenge becomes too much of a challenge. So I think having the organizations that I've worked with or worked in where that works the best is where they're actually talking to their athletes and actively listening to how they're finding things without almost giving way to them. Because I think it's very easy to go, so-and-so hasn't been selected, or it's affecting his mental health. Is it, or is it just a blip in the road and a challenge that you've got to get over? When does that tick over? And I think the best sports and organisations realise that there is a tipping point. The worst don't see the tipping point. And I think that's where you've got to find that success, is where are you prepared to have that tipping point, and is it in the correct place? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. So you're talking about kind of challenge in regards to like progression, tasks, the effort.
Yeah.
Like, I guess the more you can do that, but not get tipped over to this is now too much.
Yeah.
The higher the performance you're going to get from it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's having that space that they can have a language that they get used to using, that everybody understands, so that you can then step in and go, right, I can see you're starting to tip. Why? What can we do to support you? Is it that you need a bit of a break back? And them not feeling that if they say that, it's going to affect their selection. That will always be in sport. Your biggest thing. I remember sitting in a hotel room. I got on really well with my teammates, but I was sat in a hotel room, miles and miles and miles away from home, different continents, feeling incredibly lonely, but not feeling like I could go and talk to anybody to say, I'm actually struggling here, because the sport didn't have that language to be able to vocalize that. So I think some of the best things is when you've got a culture where you have that language. There's times when you've got to have a bit of tough love, but I think there is that kind of, if you can get a language going.
Yeah, it's really good advice. Thank you, Laura. Listening to understand and simply not listening to respond can make the difference. I agree with you 100%. What else? There must be. Have you got any examples of different bits? I'm thinking like, is there anybody from Cardiff, maybe? I know you said in a couple of years, so maybe you need a bit more time, but those elite moments, those elite athletes you've been working with, or those elite corporate professionals, anything that they really have and show that leads to high performance?
I think it's them understanding what their superpower is and what they're really, really good at. But it's also, alongside that, is understanding what their blind spot is as well. Because I think if you can understand both, you're going to perform at a better level and a higher level, because you will utilize that superpower but you will have that understanding of what your blind spot is, and then it's looking at, is the blind spot affecting what I'm trying to do here? So do I need to do something about developing it? Or actually, is that blind spot not an issue because I've got Joe sat next to me who's amazing at that, and what I can do is work with them on that side that I just can't do or can't get my head around, and not being afraid to ask. And I think the strongest leaders, the highest performing, aren't afraid to ask that questions, aren't afraid to challenge themselves as much as challenge others.
Yeah, I love that. I see that as the Richard Branson effect, or the Richard Branson model. And he was fantastic being a dyslexic himself, right? Being a fantastic role model for hiring the people he needed to do things he didn't want to do or couldn't do.
Yeah.
I think it's a very similar thing where understanding your strengths is probably the key message there.
Yeah.
And making sure that your weaknesses aren't going to be the things that get in the way.
Yeah.
Which I think is really important.
And I think we all say, don't we, like, you know, there's so many books on it, like black box thinking and things like that, that we say, you know, if we've got people in the building that all think the same, we're not going to come at things or problems from different angles. And I think understanding that in sport, and it goes back to the people first, that there are people in your organisation that will think differently, doesn't make them wrong. They may even have the answer that you're striving for. Just spend a little bit of time listening to them. Yeah.
Where do you think feedback comes into all of this? Because listening to that strengths and the weaknesses area, if you're not very self-aware, then identifying weaknesses can be a challenge. Where do you think feedback comes into all of this?
Yes. I think, well, that's why I kind of call it a blind spot rather than a weakness, because I think with blind spots, you get that thought process of, I might not be able to see it. And I think that's where having the openness to ask for feedback and gain it is key. But then it's got to be given in a way that's acceptable is the wrong word. A way that you're able to understand for you and why that might have an effect. Because sometimes you do something and you don't realise the effect it's having on others. And sometimes there is that element of tough love of, do you realise that when you say or do this, it makes me feel like this, or this happens? And sometimes feedback is nasty and it kind of brings you up short. But I think if it's given in the right way and the person who's receiving it can see that it's given to help, you know, the blind spot or that's why I tend to call it more a blind spot rather than a weakness, because we all hate the word weakness, don't we? Because it makes us feel weak, and it's about language again. Whereas a blind spot is something that you don't necessarily see.
Yeah, I love that. I agree with you, because I think language is so important. How do I transition into this next bit? So I'm just going to openly say it's not a clean cut move into this next bit. Trying to think of back in the old school, tape players, you just have to get cut. Next bit.
Yeah.
I think resilience plays a big role in performance, and I'd be interested to hear how you approach building resilience with these kids. I think from the conversations we've had, conversations I've had with Ian at West Ham, I think being in as a player carer in football with the expectations on some of these kids to make it as a pro football player, both for themselves and expectations from other people. How do you build resilience and strength of character with these people?
I kind of think it's a three-pronged thing, and I don't, it's something that we're starting to work on here. We've got a couple of kind of new projects coming out, but I think one is that understanding of yourself is key. You need to understand where you're at in an honest way. We have 4 values here: honesty, humility, hard work, and happiness. And part of the honesty is being honest with yourself, and putting your hands up and going, that was my fault. you know, that slipped out of it and I, you know, made that mistake. But at the same way, it's then helping, I think it's getting that message across in that language that especially with the youngsters, if you make a mistake, it doesn't matter. It's a learning experience. So it's changing that mistake bad into learning good. And I think the more that we can start to develop that ethos and change that, you know, old school coaching, isn't it? You make a mistake, you get shouted at by the coach. You know, should we actually say, you know, well done, we've been doing that in training and you tried it in the match. It didn't work today, but actually in 10 years' time, if you're an under 11 and you made a mistake that lets a goal in 10 years' time, are you actually going to remember that?
So you can remember it from the response from the coach. Yeah. That's what you might remember.
Yeah.
And that you see that play out in coaching sometimes. It's like there's an ingrained thing in them because of a response or a reaction previously.
Yeah. So I think it is that understanding as well that you have to. We all make mistakes. It's a human thing. We all hate making mistakes. We will all beat ourselves up about making mistakes. And that is normal. I think, again, that's almost the next thing to do to help educate and improve resilience is actually just that normality of we are all going to make mistakes. You know, how many quotes are there in sport from really famous sports people of I've made X number of mistakes to make that one shot.
Yeah.
And I think it's putting that across as well.
Yeah. So that's two approaches. What's the third?
I think the third is about helping to educate parents as well. I would say in what we're trying to put in place here is also just educating the parents on the mistakes are okay, but also educating the parents on, they're facing a challenge right now. How are you going to help them face that challenge? What conversations can you have? What conversations should you not be having? You know, should you get in the car and drive them home and dissect every millimetre of blade of grass that they've run? Or are you going to have a conversation with them saying, you know, how do you think that went, mate? Or, you know, what we're going to eat for dinner tonight? You know, normal, you take it away from football even sometimes. And so I think that's the other thing to help is the education, or it was not even education, it's supporting the parents. Because actually a lot of our parents, we forget, have maybe not had, you know, I'm longer in the tooth than I care to think. And I've probably had a bit more life experience that's meant that I've had to be a bit more resilient at times and less excuses made, etc. You know, and parents, you know, love mum, God rest her, to bits, but she was quite, you know, matter of fact in her upbringing my upbringing in terms of, right, just get on with it. Made a mistake, get on with it. It's not a problem. Off you go. Whereas sometimes I think now it's like, oh my God, he made a mistake. Oh, how's he going to feel? And sometimes you make a big thing of it when it doesn't need to be. But it's, do we take for granted that people like you and me maybe have more of a language to be able to discuss it than other people? Sometimes I think it's about helping the parents as well to understand what is good resilience and when it tips over.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's managing the failure, isn't it? And understanding what the failure is going to give you.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Throughout this, my brain's going, okay, so how do we translate this into the workplace? the busy professional who has who's trying to perform and do this, and who's maybe older and doesn't have that support network?
I think it's about trying to. You probably do have a support network. You just don't know quite who that person is sometimes. Most of us do, but most of us, and I'm included in this, are too afraid to reach out to probably the people that would go, oh, thank goodness you've asked me. Right, come on, I'm going to help you. Because we don't like to put people out. So I think some of it is, and as I say, I'm the worst person, is, getting over yourself and going, help. And then you'd be surprised how many people go, yeah, fantastic. I think, one of the things that I always think is, think about you. Actually celebrate you. What makes you you? And I think, again, we forget to do that. And as people in high performing, whether it's business, whether it's, in sport, it's very hard to take a step back and you go, you know what? I'm really good at doing that. I'm going to give myself a pat on the back for that. Or what makes me me is the fact that, I've got an office, I've got a desk here full of ridiculous little knickknacks here, there and everywhere. But it means I come in, I sit down, and my workplace is my desk is my desk. And that's what makes me me. Everybody laughs when they come in to the player care office. They're like, oh, yeah, feng shui and all of that. But it's kind of just like, it's what helps me. And I think that's sometimes what we've got to think is, what do I need? Be a bit selfish as well.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to take us on one last detour before we wrap it up. The role of the coach. And the coach for me isn't just the coach at a football club. It's the coach, the leader, the manager. What's their role in putting the person first in regards to their performance?
It sounds a very simple thing, but just get to know the person. Get to know the person that you're dealing with. I know we all hate those icebreaker games, but actually sometimes they're brilliant. Like, tell me one interesting fact about you. I can drive a Chieftain tank. What? Tell me about it. And then you start a conversation. Well, how did you do that? When did you do that? What? And then you start to realise that, for me, the Chieftain tank was a Christmas present from my parents. Why? I've got no idea, but it was something different. And then you start talking about your family, and then so sometimes it's just asking a random question.
I think that, as you said, builds relationship, builds trust, builds togetherness, which creates resilience. I want to look at it from a performance standpoint. I'm going to ask you to reflect on your time as an elite athlete. Who are the best coaches you've ever had, and what did they do to help you perform at your best?
I will still to this day go back to my head of PE at school, Mrs. Dayton, Eleanor Dayton, amazing woman, who I think probably made me, when I became a teacher, I was like, if I can be half the teacher she was. And it was that element of firm, because at times you need a bit of firmness of, steering you in the right direction, but understanding you, getting to know a bit about you. So she knew about my riding. She was adaptable so that I could go and play a hockey match and then leg it to play in the school orchestra without doing, one or the other. But it was those clear explanations that she gave when she was trying to get a message across. It was that clear language that helped you to understand why you were doing what you were doing, whether that was what you were doing was right or whether what you were doing was wrong.
Yeah.
Helping to humanize that in a way, in a language, in a way that made you click. And then I think probably the other coach that really springs to mind is actually almost in a negative way, but it really helped. I went on a young riders dressage camp, and I had my horse, bless him, was an interesting character, and big softy. We couldn't get him to do something, so the male instructor, who was a GB Olympic dressage rider, got on him. I went, "Come on, we'll get you to do this," and my horse just basically told him in equestrian terms where to go. I got back on him, and he was kind of like, "Oh yes, I shall do this for you," because I asked him in a different way. And actually, I came out afterwards, and I said to my mum, "I hated that training." And Mum went, "What did you get out of it? What was the one? What takeaway did you? So you're saying it was an awful session. What was the takeaway?" And she made me think, and it was that thought of that way of working with the horse didn't work, so I've learnt that. So I'm not going to try that again. So sometimes it's about going, I don't know what I've got out of this, trying to find a way. So almost my mum was one of my strongest coaches because she always did that. That's really it was a bad session, or it was a bad dressage test. What was good about it though? Why might it have been bad? I came off going, I don't know, Mazumi was just awful. And Mum went, well, you did realise that there was a horse escaped and ran across the dressage thing next to you. I was like, no. So she saw the bigger picture. And I think sometimes as a coach, it's seeing that bigger picture as well.
And the space to give questions for reflection on the good and the bad.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing there.
Yeah, without giving you an answer.
Yeah. It's doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
But that changes the language around failure, which you were saying earlier on.
Yeah.
It's a learning again. What we learn. What can you take? We're going to do better next time, which is really interesting. And I can see, I really like that kind of understanding you and the situation, because I think really good coaches, to me, if they know you well, will play to what you're striving for and then challenge you the way you need to be challenged to make you work harder.
Yeah.
Or work in the right way.
Yeah.
Is that going to help you achieve the goal that this goal?
Yeah. I think in understanding how you take it as well.
Yeah.
Like often if something happens, my immediate reaction is to go, so I've got to, I don't know, fight another fire here or something. And my immediate reaction is panic. Because at the moment, with how things are, I'm quite on a catastrophization type of zone. But I now know I need 2 minutes of catastrophization. I'll go for a walk around the building. I'll sit down, make a cup of tea, and then I'll have got a plan. But having now said that to my boss as well, he's gone, right, I know that you'll probably go, and then you'll calm down and you'll have sorted it.
Yeah.
So it's about understanding the person, understanding the reaction the person has as well.
Yeah. It's so situational leadership, isn't it? So situational. Sarah, thank you. I'm going to ask you one last question before we go. Top 3 tips for being able to put the human first.
I think I probably mentioned some of them already. Is that what makes you? You understand, or what makes Rich as if I was managing you. What makes you? Is it the fact that you, I don't know, go home and build Lego, or enjoy cooking, or all those other things that we never see here because we're sat at a desk? What makes you? I think it is about having that superpower and blind spot awareness. I think that's quite a key thing. And it is about just be curious about people. Listen.
Yeah. So I've got there a couple of things. Got find out about the person, understanding superpowers, be curious and listen.
Yeah. Love
that. Sarah, I appreciate you so much for coming on here and sharing your insights.
My pleasure. I hope I haven't waffled too much.
You did a great job. Actually, before we go, sorry, Laura has asked a question. Sorry, Laura,
Yeah.
I'll get to this question. Her comment comment is, I'm just reflecting on the great values you shared, Sarah. Honesty, humility, hard work, and happiness. I wonder, with humility, do your people tend not to share their own personal achievements openly with others so much?
I think, yes, I think sometimes there is that that thing of, I don't want to say, I think I've done this really well. Mm-hmm. One thing that they've started here, which I really like, we're starting to grow the traction, is we've got an academy-wide WhatsApp group. And part of that WhatsApp group is to put on successes on there. So the first match of the season for us was amazing. We had so many either ex-academy players or current under-21s, some who literally was an under-18 last year. First year's pro, first EFL match, scored an absolute screamer. So, there was that celebration of actually, and it wasn't, isn't it good? He's scored this amazing goal. It was, well done, everyone, for what you've put in to make this lad get there. Mm-hmm. I ran an event a couple of weeks ago here, and so I put a picture up and said, the boys were fantastic. Thank you, everyone, for I'm really proud of the event, but thank you for your support with it. Mm-hmm. And I think, we're starting to use it. It's something we've talked about it as a management team here, that it's not quite there yet. Mm-hmm. But I think that's a starting point. Mm-hmm. We're trying to get the kids to let us know if they've had an achievement outside of football. Mm-hmm. And we put it up on, we've got TVs all around the academy. Mm-hmm. And last season we were putting up those stories as well. Mm-hmm. So I think that, hopefully we'll start to do that again this year. And then one of the things that I put on the bio was, give me one interesting fact. Mm-hmm. And, some of them are amazing, mm-hmm. World records or Guinness World Records, things that we would have never have known again. And being able to celebrate that success, nothing to do with football, but going, mm-hmm. You know what, you're pretty special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. Really great question, Laura. Thank you. But yeah, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everybody in the comments, for all your interactivity. I've tried to add them into this conversation as much as possible, but I really appreciate it. If you want to, obviously, chat to Sarah, she's on LinkedIn, drop her a line. If you want to ask me any questions, please do. It'd be really great to continue the story, or answer any questions you guys have. But for now, see you next week. I'm just uploading the next Wellbeing Chat episode, so keep your eye out for that. With Roxy, who we're going to talk about lessons learned from 300 plus interviews, with people talking about wellbeing, mental health, which is going to be really interesting. So yeah, keep your eye out for that. But for the meantime, have a great weekend and see you all soon. Stay where you are, Sarah.
I will.